Welcome back, everyone. We have finally made it. Today is a pivotal moment because this is the grand finale of our five-part explainer series, where we've been diving deep into the life, the mind, and the truly monumental era of Muhammad Ali Pasha. Now, over the last four parts, we've unpacked the huge military campaigns, the massive economic overhauls, and some pretty intense geopolitical chess matches. But today we're stripping all of that back. We're looking at the man behind the monument. We're talking about the architect who literally dragged a nation from centuries of slumber right into the modern age. We're going to look at what it actually cost to build a state from the ground up, and maybe most surprisingly, the intense, deeply painful anxiety he felt about passing the torch.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Look at this incredibly revealing quote from the source text. At the end of his life, when he was reflecting on his whole journey, Muhammad Ali didn't boast about his conquests. Instead, he framed his entire existence around the sacrifice of his own peace for the sake of the nation. He says, "Destroying my own rest is easy for me in the path of reforming and building the homeland." You know, this isn't just a ruler speaking here. This is an architect who is utterly obsessed with his blueprint. He viewed his relentless, restless drive as an absolute prerequisite for his nation to survive. Section 1. End of Chaos and State Building. To truly grasp the weight of that sacrifice, we need to look at the macro-level foundation he laid down and how he completely transformed the concept of the Egyptian state.
Our insights today are grounded directly in Shafiq Gorbal's definitive historical work, which was published by the Hindawi Foundation. And this text is so crucial because it doesn't just give us a dry list of dates and battles. It actually chronicles the intricate and sometimes brutal origins of the modern institutional state. It really gives us the empirical lens we need to see how Muhammad Ali actually operated on a day-to-day basis.
And when we look through that empirical lens, the before and after of Egypt under his rule is just staggering. It's like night and day. Before him, the region was essentially a fractured landscape ruled by armed Mamluk militias. We're talking fragmented resources, overlapping authorities, and just continuous draining chaos. It was a society where public welfare was constantly sacrificed for whatever a warring faction wanted that day. But after him, boom, you have a disciplined national army, a fiercely centralized state apparatus, and unified national goals. He permanently destroyed the era of armed gangs and replaced them with a cohesive, institutional monolith.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how he conceptualized this new state. Because he didn't just import a European model and lazily paste it over an Eastern society. No, the source text emphasizes that he merged modern, worldly administrative functions with foundational Islamic values of unity, cooperation, and collective duty. He strongly believed that adopting the mechanics of modern progress, things like structured taxation, massive public works, military organization, was completely in harmony with his religious duties to protect and elevate the community. He literally synthesized the ancient with the cutting edge.
Section 2. The cost of modernization. But as we all know, a transformation of this magnitude doesn't just happen organically, and it definitely doesn't happen peacefully. We have to look at the strict methodologies used to awaken the nation.
So every massive state-building goal came with a very stark historical reality. To achieve the revival of dead lands and build enormous public works like canals and barrages, the state heavily restricted individual property rights and utilized forced labor. To end the era of roaming armed gangs and actually secure the borders, the state enforced strict national obedience and claimed an absolute monopoly on violence. Now, as people analyzing history, we aren't looking at this to endorse or condemn it, right? We're looking at it to understand the sheer raw force that was required to forge a unified state out of a totally fractured system. The centralization of power was absolute.
In Muhammad Ali's eyes, these were just the non-negotiable costs of survival. He awakened the nation from centuries of slumber, and doing that meant he had to direct all individual efforts toward collective goals. He took the burden of defense away from localized tribes and threw it onto a unified, conscripted army. Ultimately, he prioritized macro-level public welfare, basically the survival and modernization of the state, over uninhibited personal freedom. He fundamentally believed that without a strong, unified state, the nation would just be devoured by outside empires.
Section 3. Forming the ruling elite. Because a centralized state cannot be run by one man alone, no matter how restless he is, he needed the right people to operate his machine.
So the crucial point is that Muhammad Ali didn't rely on a formal, written constitution to govern. The paper itself wasn't what mattered to him. His constitution was unwritten. It was based entirely on his iron will, and it was executed by a newly formed, highly educated ruling elite.
He essentially manufactured a brand new aristocracy. He sent young men over to Europe, trained them in modern sciences and administration, and bound them directly to his vision. This elite class became his living, breathing state apparatus.
And the personality of the man driving this elite was fascinatingly complex. The historical records strip away all that royal mythology to reveal a deeply action-oriented, super pragmatic human being. He absolutely detested superficiality. He didn't care at all for empty titles or the pomp of old royal courts. His focus was relentlessly on tangible national reform. And, surprisingly enough, people who knew him noted he was naturally cheerful, quick to smile, yet entirely open about his one big defining flaw, his deep, burning impatience. He felt the clock ticking on his life's work every single day.
Section 4, Harsh Advice for the Heirs. This brings us to the most intimate and honestly probably the most stressful part of his life, the succession. We get this incredible micro-macro zoom in his later years. On one hand, he's managing the sprawling resources of an entire nation, negotiating with European empires, and building massive fleets. But on the other hand, he's up late at night writing furious, deeply anxious letters to his sons and grandsons. He was terrified, literally terrified, that the heirs to his empire lacked the discipline and the vision to keep it all together. The contrast between this grand, macro-level ruler and this micromanaging, intensely worried patriarch is just extraordinary.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. This is a direct reprimand aimed at his grandson Abbas after Abbas reportedly acted cruelly by killing a baker. Muhammad Ali was absolutely livid. He wrote, "If these are his actions in his youth, how can he inherit the throne? He must erase this flaw, or it will be a disaster for his old age." You see, he wasn't just scolding a misbehaving kid. He was foreseeing the potential collapse of his entire state if it fell into the hands of someone who couldn't govern with justice and restraint.
We see a similar, though maybe slightly more constructive, sternness with his son, Saeed. He commands him, "It is absolutely necessary for you to associate with those who know the new principles, so it is not said that Muhammad Ali's character is bad." So he's explicitly telling his son to rely on the educated elite, the experts in modern statecraft. But notice how deeply personal that framing is. He literally ties the success of his heirs directly to his own historical reputation. He knew how fragile his legacy really was.
Section 5. Muhammad Ali's Final Legacy. As we bring this 5-part exploration to a close, we need to synthesize all of this. What is the final tally?
Let's move to and see how this builds. 3 million. Towards the end of his life, he spoke of his ultimate motivation being the welfare and elevation of 3 million souls in his homeland. Just think about that. That was the staggering weight he placed squarely on his own shoulders. He single-handedly sought to drag 3 million people into a new era, utilizing every single resource, every drop of sweat, and every ounce of his unyielding will to make it happen.
He started out as an ambitious military commander and ended up exceeding his own wildest dreams. Muhammad Ali Pasha left behind an enduring, incredibly heavy legacy. He was the vital bridge between a fragmented, ancient system and a unified, modern, institutional state. He laid the tracks that the nation would run on for generations to come, creating a new reality that simply could not be undone, no matter who sat on the throne after him.
So he built the machine, he trained the elite, and he issued those harsh warnings to his heirs. But history is never static, is it? As you reflect on the sheer scale of what Muhammad Ali Pasha achieved, the ultimate question remains. When the architect finally rested, did his descendants possess the strength to preserve his monumental legacy, or did the true vision of the new state slowly die with the man who dreamed it? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through history. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will see you in our next explainer.